Ladies and gents, boys and girls, what is up? The Windup returns a loaded SEC baseball slate this weekend. We got a lot to discuss, a lot to get into. Without further ado, let's do that. I am Chris Phillips. He is here with Fant. Each and every single one of you tuning in. Once again, this is the Windup SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show. As always, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL, the official partners of the SEC Unfiltered Tour, which have yours truly sitting right now in Gainesville, Florida. More on that in a second. Again, FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $150 in bonus bets today. Guys, once again, it's Thursday. We are recapping what happened in the midweek. Believe it or not, midweek madness struck again. And we have got a loaded, and I mean a loaded, SEC baseball slate this weekend. We got some of the best rivalries in college baseball. We've got, how many tournaments do you want? You get a tournament. You get a tournament. Everybody's getting a tournament this weekend. We got other non-conference play, guys. As again, the road to SEC play. Harrison, we got this weekend. We got next weekend. And then we jump into conference play. So it's actually right around the corner. A lot to get into, a lot to discuss. Once again, this is the Windup SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show. And dare I say, the best SEC baseball show you're going to find here on these interwebs, if you will. Again, Harrison Fant joins me. Harrison, what's up, man? Good to see you. Great to have you. Excited to chat about it. I know I seem like I'm shot out of a cannon, but we got a lot to get into today, and I'm fired up about it.
Great to be here. Always great to talk college baseball, especially when it's SEC. And, you know, I think I second that motion. Best SEC baseball entity on the internet. And, you know, we give it to you truthfully. We give it to you thoroughly. And we give it to you content all week, every week. The best content on the internet for covering college baseball, especially in SEC for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Like I said, we got tons to discuss. And like I mentioned, top of show, I do want to highlight, I sit right now not in my normal studio, not my normal setup. That is because the SEC Unfiltered Tour has taken us on the road once again, as it always does. Our friends over at FanDuel, the proud partners and sponsors of that. I currently sit in Gainesville, Florida, and we are here for an electric weekend with the Gators. 3-game set against Miami, which we're going to start with that one here in just a second, breaking it down once we get through the midweek. And also Saturday night, the Hardwood. Our friend Dave Shoemate is in the chat right now in the live show, or in the live comments, if you will. Gators and Texas A&M in a big one on the Hardwood as the regular season for college basketball comes to an end. So really exciting stuff. We got a lot of exciting plans in regards to content. More on that in a second. But Harrison, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the midweek. The midweek delivered once again. Shocker. The midweek delivered. I'm to a point, Harrison, where I'm not more fired up to tune into the midweek, but I'm fired up to tune into the midweek because I'm like, what silliness is going to happen next? Because we sat here a week ago, essentially the same time saying, hey, man, yours truly went viral. It happened again. It happened
2 million views and counting.
Another viral psycho pitcher moment. This time, the kid from Texas State, who is just a legend, Alex Valentine, I believe it is. Absolute legend, lefty out there pumping gas, striking out Jace Lavalette, letting his nuts hang, doesn't give a damn. And oh, by the way, Texas State beats Texas A&M. There's widespread panic in College Station. We had Ole Miss beating a ranked Southern Miss in Oxford. We had Mississippi State dropping another midweek game to a top 25 team. But granted, to the Troy Trojans in state, it feels like has like the toughest midweek slate in the country. LSU Absolutely. Getting a really high-quality win against DBU. And the Gators, where we're at, they go 2-0 in the midweek against Stetson in North Florida. That's notable after what happened last year. Harrison, I just threw a lot at you, but I'll kick it to you. I think we have to start with the A&M stuff. I think that's the focal point here. Texas A&M feels like they're reeling a little bit. They've only lost 2 games, but crazy high expectations in the preseason. The way they've looked at this point, you lose Gavin Grahovic in the same week. It's tough times right now in Aggie land. Tough times right now.
Yeah, and with an offense that's struggling like they are, and we've seen the reports out of Aggie land from Coach Early and other reports around the program about how it just feels like the identity of this team's kind of lost. It's kind of up in the air right now. And just, it feels like all the pieces we know are there. The talent's there. Obviously, you lose, a huge bat in SEC freshman of the year and Gavin Grahovac, but there's so much talent around them. And you have freshmen that are absolute stars, and you have elite guys in the roster on the lineup struggling right now, which is okay because we know how talented they are and how that's not going to be consistent throughout the season. We know they're going to pick those bats up like Chase Lavalette and Gavin Cash, a transfer from Texas Tech, and just the talent that he is. But the identity and kind of the confidence feels like it just is all over the place and just not. It doesn't feel as synergistic as we expected out of Texas.
Is synergistic a word, Harrison, or did you just make that up? That synergistic's a hell of a word, by the way. I love it. I love it. Synergy, synergize, synergistic.
Yeah, the synergy is not there to the.
I can rock with that
to the point that we thought it would be with just how talented this Texas A&M team is. And I mean, this is the time that if you do struggle, we don't want to, but if you struggle, this is when you find a lot of culture and a lot of program and team identity. And Texas A&M is going through a lot of that right now.
Yeah, I think the reports, and again, we talked to folks, obviously. I mean, we had a conversation drop this morning, by the way, if you're interested. Richard Zane of TexAgs, who covers the Aggies on the diamond. He does a great job with guys like Ryan Brauninger over there, obviously Billy Lucci. They do a fantastic job. We love those dudes at TexAgs. We talked about this exact thing, Harrison, and it was a really great conversation. I mean, reassuring, listen, it's baseball. It's a long season. They're going to be fine. But it is odd that you could talk about this team and a lack of identity on offense when – I mean, so many of the core pieces are back, and I even losing Grahovic, like it should still be one of the best lineups in college baseball. Not to say that it won't be, but the struggles early on, I think I'd be more concerned with the bullpen, and I think they are more concerned with the bullpen than the hitting. I think the hitting we expect to come around, but I think maybe what you're seeing a little bit of, man, bullseye on you, the target's on you, the pressure's on, right? It's a first-year head coach of Michael Early, and I've been asked this question, Harrison, and just let me get this out. I've been asked by multiple people, do you think Michael Early's in over his head? I'm not ready to say that. We're 7 games in. The way they respond, though, will tell – hitting adversity is inevitable in this sport. How do you respond to said adversity? And there's going to be more to come in SEC play. The response to adversity will define how ready you are for this level, more than if you run into adversity, because you're going to run into it. This is a game that'll bring you to your knees and humble you in a quick second. How they respond to it will tell me more, because it's like my big question, I think what scares me about the identity thing is more like it's at that point it's mental. Jace Lavalette didn't forget how to hit a baseball, so it's like what mentally is going on with this team. And again, we could be having a different conversation, Harrison, in 4 days or so if they go into Houston, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit. They go into Houston, go undefeated. It's like, oh, okay, everybody was overreacting. And I think that may be what happens, but that will be what defines them. How do you react? How do you respond? Texas State, we know, lives for the midweeks. They were chippy all game. That pitcher was kind of a microcosm of the energy State brought in that game. So I'm not panicking on A&M. Again, great combo that dropped this morning with Richard Zane, if you want to check that out from the A&M perspective. He's not panicking either. There's a lot of folks on their message boards that are panicking, but we're 7 games in. But how they respond to it's going to be interesting. I mean, it just – you got too many good pieces that look as bad as that. How about this, Harrison? Defensively, 11 errors in 7 games. I mean, this team's too good to be playing like that.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly it. They're too good to be playing like this, and it's just tough to see because you don't want to see the struggles of a lot of elite guys that, are big names in college baseball, like a lot of them on Texas A&M, and just what their, mindset going into the season is. Like, this is kind of a revenge tour, like with a lot of those players in this team, getting back to Omaha and finishing unfinished business. And I'm not going to say Michael Early's in over his head. I think he's happy to be in a situation. He wants to be in a situation and overcome this adversity and respond. I think it's going to be a big word for this A&M team the next few weeks until they get to conference play, and then hopefully hit the ground rolling. And, they have that kind of calluses on their season, on their hands, that helps guide and lead them throughout the season, Chris.
Yeah, I think 7 games in, you can't draw any conclusions right now. But again, it's at the same token, as our friend Dave Shoemate likes to say, Harrison, 2 things can be true at once. We're very early in the season, but SEC play is literally around the corner. So you better get some stuff figured out pretty quickly. What else stood out to you, Harrison, in the midweek? I mean, I think the big one, obviously, is LSU. Last night, they beat Dallas Baptist. Tigers didn't even play great and won that game pretty handily. Danny Dickinson looks like the next – dude, Danny Dickinson is the most LSU-looking LSU infielder I've ever seen. He's got the earring hanging off, got the earrings going, just drip swag. He looks like a star. The Utah, what was it? Utah Valley, I believe. Or
Utah Valley.
Yeah, Utah Valley transfer. He looks incredible. Derek Curiel as a freshman, I think he's going to be a shoo-in for freshman of the year. Their pitching staff's gross. So that was a high-quality win. Again, Ole Miss continues to impress.
Yeah, Connor Ware looks really good on the mound for LSU. I mean, 4 one-hit innings. He had 1 earned, but 6 Ks, no walks. I mean, to have that as like kind of like a midweek is ridiculous in the SEC. And then, you have guys like Hassan Evans closing out 2 Ks and 2 innings with no hits. I mean, just clean inning from him. His first save of the year. His stuff is legit. His stuff plays. But I mean, you have talent like that all over. I mean, and you see, even against a midweek, like Dallas Baptist being a midweek like that, like Troy playing Mississippi State, and Auburn last week, right? And Mississippi State had a chance to, walk that off almost. And, you see Ole Miss playing Southern Miss, these talented teams that are elite mid-major teams, and they're throwing guys that are dudes, Chris. These mid-majors are not playing around when they're playing these big high-caliber teams like LSU, Mississippi State, etc. And I mean, we saw it with Troy even. I mean, the guy from Troy, Adam Falinsky, I mean, he's pumping 94, 95. I mean, hammer breaking ball. I mean, the stuff's there, right? And that's part of what college baseball is now, I think, is a lot of guys that the draft shrunk, right? COVID, transfer portal and, getting eligibility back with JUCO. It only has made the game of college baseball better and that much deeper and talent rich. I mean, and then you have guys like, Mississippi State, Troy's Shane Lewis. I mean, he had 2 bombs. I think we need to mention against Mississippi State in that game. One of them on elevated heater and the other one, I don't know if you saw, Chris, an absolute driver off the deck. I mean, the pitch, I think, started at his shoulders, and he hit it off a tee with a driver, an absolute nuke. I mean, the talent all over the field is unbelievable. It's so great, like I said, for the game of college baseball. And, we're so excited for it because we only are here to grow the game of college baseball.
Yeah, Mississippi State, to your point in that game. And again, give Skylar Meade and them credit. Love Skylar Meade. He's a great coach.
They have 6-7 guys throw 95.
Yeah, he's built. Obviously pitching is his background. That's what he is. He's a pitching dude. Not surprised at all the dudes they have.
Yep.
State almost, like you said, walked that one off. Kid hits one of the warning track that would have walked it off. Got to eat some more biscuits this week. That one's got to go out. Yeah, they had a tying run on third. Kid comes up, unfortunately rolls over, and that was the ball game. But I at the same time, I give Mississippi State credit for challenging themselves with these really, really tough midweek games. But I know their fans. I saw some of them talking about, hey, let's never do this again because it's not fun to lose those midweek games, obviously. But it should make you better down the road, certainly. And they got a big weekend coming up. We'll get
and a big win for Ole Miss too. We need to mention that. It's a very, very talented postseason Southern Miss team that has host regionals in the past, been to super regionals.
They just beat Mississippi State last week.
Exactly. They beat Mississippi State last week, and they put up 15 on them. They really slammed the door with a 4-run 8th inning, Chris, after going up 3-0 the first. And, it was really, I think, great for Ole Miss fans to see that against a talented team in a midweek like Southern Miss and the rivalry that is. We know Ole Miss, Southern Miss, and Mississippi State all hate each other, Chris. We talk about rivalries this upcoming weekend. You could probably put that in there in, top, I think, 10 at least rivalries in the country.
Yeah, to your point, Harrison, looking too far ahead, next week, Southern Miss goes to Starkville. So they play each other again just 2 weeks later. So the intensity will be ratcheted up, especially with Mississippi State. Like the sense of urgency to win one of those midweek games, it is going to be electric at the Dude. That is for sure. Also, again, notable Florida. They go 2-0 in the midweek. Stetson and North Florida, not sure. Those are pretty quality midweek teams. Got a little squirrely on Wednesday night. They gave up a 3-run lead, I believe it was. Had to walk it off via wild pitch. Talking to some folks down there. Pretty close to the situation. They threw a lot of young guys, a lot of freshmen, saving a lot of their bigger relievers, a lot of their more veteran guys they count on more consistently for the weekend, which would make sense. On that note, Harrison, again, it was an electric midweek, but my goodness, the weekend that we have at hand is unreal. It's it's as good as it gets. I know we've pumped it up opening weekend, the second weekend, and they were really good. This weekend, loaded slate. We're going to start with the rivalries. There's a lot of great tournaments. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and to speak about how little we're talking about Florida the midweek. I mean, that just proves how big of a weekend it is and how Florida actually took care of business this weekend. Two
Yeah.
big midweek games, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
with you and I both talked about how much you've been raving about Aiden King on the mound and just what the
dude,
talent
he's
he is at Florida. I
so
mean,
good.
he's going to be a name in the SEC for the next 2-3 years.
He's number one starter stuff. He's first round. I mean, he's first round
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
Really,
3
truly.
shutout innings with 4 Ks, no walks. I mean, it was dominant from him.
Yeah, the way they rave about him from a standpoint of course, the stuff is good, but the way he's able to locate so early in his career, that's the thing I think they're really
And think
excited
about the
about.
midweek bullpen that Florida's been using too. They've all shoved. They shoved this week.
Yeah, they've got dudes. I mean, it's a Sully pitching staff. What do you expect? So, on that note, guys, again, we're talking the Gators. That's where we're going to start. That's where I'm at. We're in Gainesville, Florida. The Florida Gators taking on the Miami Hurricanes. You know we love some SEC, ACC, Harrison. I've been talking my shit, man. We got to stand on business this weekend. SEC, ACC. Gators hosting Miami at Condren Family Ballpark. And before we get in the series, I do want to highlight our good friend Chinook Cedary in the comments saying, say hi to Colby Shelton, Chinook ambassador down there in Gainesville. Oh, the irony, my friend. Oh, the irony, because we have got, I told you earlier this week, we had some really special content plans. The reason we're doing this show here on Thursday, an hour earlier than normal, yours truly this afternoon, this Thursday afternoon, getting out to practice at Condren Family Ballpark. The Gators are having me out there, and we are doing a one-on-one interview with the man himself, Colby Shelton, after practice. Going to be an electric conversation. Going to be hanging out with the Gators. They've rolled out the red carpet for us, man. Obviously, we're going to be there all weekend at all 3 games, going to the basketball game, but Florida baseball in particular going to have us out. We're going to be hanging out in the dugout, watching practice, and like I mentioned, doing a little one-on-one. I think we're going to be playing catch with Colby Shelton. We're either going to do that or we're going to walk around the bases, something Colby Shelton does a lot of down there in Gainesville, obviously. So, going to be a lot of fun. Yours truly going to be doing the interview. Well, I'll ask him some off-the-wall stuff and maybe try to ask him some questions he doesn't normally get. But you know it's going to be a good time, going to be a lot of fun. I can't say thank you enough to Florida for having us, for rocking with SECU. It's going to be electric, man. So really, really excited, looking forward to it. And shout out my guy, Nick De La Torre with Florida Victorious, the NIL collective or the NIL entity, if you will, for Florida that has helped make all of this happen. And shout out to Sully. Shout out to that entire staff, that team. It's really cool. It's really cool. Florida and SECU, man. We love to see it. So anyways, that's a great way to – yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's a great way to kick off the weekend. What's going to be an electric weekend, Harrison. Again, Florida, Miami. Gators are a perfect 9-0. Miami comes in at 8-1. Miami kind of projected middle-of-the-pack ACC team. It's not one of their elite teams, if you will. At least we don't know that yet. Right now it looks like for Florida, and we know this for Florida, the projected rotation, they're going to go Liam Peterson on Friday. They're switching Saturday, Sunday. So Pierce Capala goes from Sunday to Saturday. Jake Clemente goes in that Sunday role. Obviously leading them right now, Brody Donay leading the way, which Brody Donay, it's so interesting. The dude's either going to hit a home run or strike out. That's pretty much what he's going to do. But he's hitting a lot of home runs right now, thankfully, hitting 448, 5 bombs, 9 ribbies. You look at Miami. I want to jump to them really quickly, Harrison, and we'll get more of these guys. Their projected rotation, Nick Robert, Griffin Hughes, and Brian Walters, all 3 of them righties. Those are the guys, at least to this point, they fielded on the weekend. They've got some sticks as well. Ogden's hitting 444, Galvin 394, Marsh 333. Harrison, it's one of the best rivalries in college baseball. I stand on that. I believe that it's going to be an electric weekend. The weather's perfect, by the way. It's like high 70s down here in Florida. It's going to be that all weekend. Thoughts on this weekend series and how you see it playing out, what you're excited about. Again, 2 hated rivalries. If we know anything, the intensity is going to be ratcheted up. And, oh, by the way, Blake Sear for Florida, Miami transfer. He was hitting in their 3-hole last year. He's now starting for the Gators. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, I mean, you said one of the best rivalries in college baseball, and I think you have to include Florida State in that. The Florida State, Miami rivalry, like I said, with Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, it's crazy a 3-team rivalry in one state, but I think this Florida State, Miami rivalry is top 3 rivalries in college baseball for sure. I mean, I think the history around the University of Miami program helps that a lot. I mean, they haven't had, as great of seasons recently as historically they have been as a program, but I mean, there's a lot of talent there. And like you said, I think Blake Sear is a big kind of piece. And I think focus for a lot of people that are going to be watching to see how does he play against his former team? What does that look like? Kind of the confidence he carries, the swag maybe, just, a moment or, a big moment when maybe he's up late in the game and there's a tying runner, go ahead run on second or third, 2 outs in the 8th, something like that crazy. I'm expecting probably at least one game in that situation if the baseball gods bless us. But I mean, a lot of talented players on both teams. Obviously, we know about the talent in Florida, but Miami's got a lot of good hitters too. And Jake Ogden and Max Galvin. And the pitching staff, I'm curious to see. They pitched very well to start the season, but they haven't faced a lineup like this, Chris. They have not faced a lineup like Florida's, where to meet a minimum requirements, you have to play, like in batting stats, you have to have 2 plate appearances a game in 75% of the games played, right? So only 7 right now Florida batters qualify for that. All 7 are batting above 343. Bobby Bowser's batting 343, and he has an 1100 OPS.
I told you, every time I get on social media, I'm seeing his name. It's just like every time, dude. Bobby Baseball is what they're calling him in Gainesville. Bobby Baseball.
I'm just going to read the guys who don't qualify. I think it's because they've only played 4 or 5 games. 538 average, 385 average, 250, 214, and 200. That's the bench of guys who haven't qualified batting statistics wise. But you have Brody Donay, who you mentioned. His OPS is 1660, Chris. 1660. He's batting 448. He is one of the best hitters in college baseball this season. And he's doing it in some different ways. He's got 13 hits, 3 doubles, 5 home runs, only 9 RBIs, surprisingly. But I mean, strikeouts, like you said, he's only had 6, though, and 29 ABs. I mean, he's drawn 7 walks, too. So his strikeout to walk ratio, I mean, you'll take that every single day. But you have Colby Shelton right behind him, 378. I mean, it's just so deep. I mean, Blake Sears batting 357 in the bottom of the lineup. I mean, with an over 1,000 OPS, almost 1,100. It's just, there is not a single hole in this lineup or guy that they can't put in this lineup that, you can take their foot off the gas as an opposing pitching staff. And that's, I think, what I'm excited to see the most is how Miami's pitching staff goes to get up against this lineup in Florida. And I mean, what Florida's going to do, honestly, about it, and just how they're is the offense going to continue to explode, or will, calm down a little bit, especially in a rivalry series like this, but then the pitching staff, like we talked about. I mean, the pitching staff at Florida, you could say a top 3 rotation in SEC right now. I mean, with Liam Peterson, Pierce Capalla going Saturday, and then Jake Clemson. I mean, you got a 0 ERA in 10 innings for Liam Pearson, and then a 1.7 or 1.8 for Pierce Capalla, and then a 1.8 for Jake Clemente. 2 starts each for them. I mean, it's ridiculous how elite they've been. And then the bullpen, they got 7 guys who are throwing 1 or 2 outings, all the 0 ERA still. I mean, it's so deep on both sides of the ball, and it's no wonder. It's surprising actually how, I guess, slept on they've been this season. You and I feel like have been the most of any media entity to talk about Florida outside of a program affiliated or a media entity covering or affiliated with Florida directly. I mean, it feels like they're an Omaha sleeper, but they're not for us because I think they're a front runner. And we know Kevin O'Sullivan's track record. He's been to Omaha more times than he's missed Omaha. So I'm excited to see it this weekend. And I think Florida just absolutely smashes the ball all weekend. I mean, maybe they drop a game, but it's probably going to be like a 10-8 game, if anything. But I expect them to smash the ball all weekend, Chris.
Yeah, like you said, depth is the thing that really jumps out. Both sides of the ball, like you mentioned. I mean, listen, it's baseball. And I mean, we've seen Florida. They I don't want to overvalue like some of the struggles, quote unquote, in the midweek. They're really good, man. I mean, I'm glad you made the point, Harrison. We've talked about them a lot from the standpoint of being an Omaha front runner. We've been really high. I mean, I've been saying since the preseason, I just don't know why Florida's not being talked about more. It's we're almost just so ho-hum about them. Like, oh yeah, their death taxes and the Gators will end up in Omaha. But it's like, you really have to give credit how good this team is. I think it's an opportunity for Florida to make a statement this weekend on a bit of a national level, especially if they can sweep. Again, talking to them down there, they're really complimentary of Miami's frontline starting pitching. So that's I think we could have some really fun pitching showdowns. I don't think from a standpoint of the lineup, they're nowhere near as deep as Florida is in the lineup. So good news for the Gators pitchers. And again, I think it's an opportunity for Florida to make a statement, Harrison. I really do, from a national perspective. Because we've been talking about them, but it's almost like they've been getting lost in the shuffle of the LSUs and the Tennessees and the A&M struggles and Texas first year in the league and what Oklahoma and Bama did in their tournaments. And it's like, here's Florida sitting 9-0. And I mean, I bumped them up in my power rankings number 2. And I don't know if it caught some people's attention, but it's like, look at how they've been winning. I mean, they're just kicking people's ass
on both sides of the ball. It's dominant.
Yeah, it's been dominant. So
I mean, I think I put them top 3 in my rankings of, the rankings I'm doing this season, not power rankings like you, but I'm doing rankings, SEC rankings based on in-game results only. So no preseason rankings, numbers, just what we've seen week to week. And I think they're top 2 in mine, if not 1.
Yeah,
I mean,
the way they've
so
been
talented.
winning has been really impressive. And again, you watch them, and they obviously stand out as one of the top teams in college baseball. So, Harrison, well, let's lock in some predictions for this one. I'm going to make mine very simple, okay? We got the U, boom, over the knee. Break the U right in half. Florida sweeping this weekend at Condren Family Ballpark. And we're going to get a U, bam, broken over the knee. I don't know if it's going to be Blake Sear because it literally might start an all-out brawl at home plate. But somebody's going to do it. Hey, we saw it with the jawing with Jack Caglione last year. I think we're going to get more of that. It gets really, really chippy. I think Florida's going to sweep, man. I think great weather at the home ballpark. It's going to be a sellout all 3 days. I think this team's going to be fired up. I think they're going to take care of business and dispose of Miami. Give me Florida 3-0 clean sweep in Gainesville and us on hand to witness it.
Chris, minimum lock in a Florida win because I got that locked in for sure. Series win. I think they pull out a high-scoring game in maybe game 2, maybe 3. But give me the sweep as well, Chris. We're going you down. I think someone after the end of the game, they shut the door. They slammed the door shut in the 9th inning and get a U down. I mean, we saw the Texas State pitcher. He went. Give me a U down this weekend, Chris, for the Gators.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And a huge rivalry series that makes a statement across the country.
Yeah, I can't wait to feel the intensity of this one. Again, this is my first Florida baseball experience. So.
I've been to Florida State Miami at Florida State game, and it was intense. I mean, I'll tell you that. It was a Friday. I think it was a Friday or Saturday night. It was an electric atmosphere. The rivalry you can tell is there, and just the hatred that each fan base has for each other.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Excited to experience it. My first ever weekend. First ever game ever at Condren Family Ballpark. Cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. Let's go to another one, Harrison. The intensity is going to be at an all-time high. Again, this one of the best. And when it's good, you could say, when both teams are good, you could say, Harrison, arguably it is the best rivalry in all of college baseball. That is the South Carolina Gamecocks taking on the Clemson Tigers. Carolina at 9-0, Clemson at 7-1. 3-game set. Game 1 will be played in Clemson. Game 2 at a neutral site in Greenville, South Carolina at Fluor Field, home of the Greenville Drive. And then Sunday played in Columbia at Founders Park. Fun fact and interesting fact in that one, Harrison, that Sunday game set for a 5 o'clock first pitch, which is really late for a Sunday. So we're going to get nighttime baseball at Founders Park to decide the series. We'll see how it plays out. The starting rotation. I think you're muted here.
It's a 1 o'clock game on Saturday, Chris. I mean,
yeah,
it's
early game Saturday.
Done.
Yeah, it is weird how it's 1 o'clock Saturday, but 5 o'clock Sunday. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Starting rotation for South Carolina is really the big storyline here, Harrison, I think, going in. Matthew Becker is going to get the ball on Friday, the lefty. Jake McCoy, the freshman, is going to go on Saturday. And then Dylan Eskew is kind of a TBD. I guess he's dealing with some soreness. Paul Maneri saying after their Wednesday night midweek, or was it Tuesday night midweek? Whatever. Saying this week that if he's good to go, he'll go, but he's dealing with some soreness. So is it SQ? Do they have to Johnny Holstaff it? We'll see. Clemson, what we'd expect, you're going to see some variants of Aiden Kanak, Ethan Darden, and Justin Legurnick. Now, I believe Legurnick was the lefty that got shelled in Arlington when I was there. So that could get a little interesting on Sunday.
He's got an ERA right now.
Yeah. They love the stuff, but he just doesn't know where it's going. That's the problem. Stars all over the field, obviously, Harrison. The top 2 in this one, Ethan Petrie for South Carolina, who's hitting .452 with 2 bombs and 10 ribbies. And then, of course, Cam Canarella, who we're very familiar with, saw in person in the postseason last year. He's off to a slower start, hitting .269, 4 ribbies, but don't let that fool you. This kid's one of the best players in college baseball. So, Harrison, 3-game set, Gamecocks and Tigers. What are you expecting? What do you see happening? What are you most excited to see in this one?
Yeah, Chris, I think I'm excited to see Aiden Kanak pitch, honestly. Just we saw him pitch last year and just how electric and dominant he was as a freshman, and to only gain confidence and rolling so hot into the season right now, just stuff-wise. I mean, obviously the ERA is not where he'd want it to be. It's at a 6 right now, but the stuff is there. The strikeout ability is 15-3 strikeout to walk ratio in 9 innings. I mean, it's elite stuff, and it's going to go into the lineup that we said is how deep is this lineup? You have Ethan Petrie, but can you protect him around with guys like Nathan Hall, Kennedy Jones, and Jace Wojta? I mean, it's just, can you protect around that? I mean, those guys, all three of the guys I said, are batting 433 or up or higher. Kennedy Jones is batting 290, but it's just, how is that going to play, especially in a rivalry series? In just every pitch is going to matter so much more. And I think the interesting thing is Sunday too, Chris. You got a Sunday night game, Founders Park, and it's going to be, empty the bullpens with whatever's left, especially how it's managed through Friday and Saturday. But then the starters that, there's question marks around, just a little bit of uncertainty and who's available in the bullpen, who of your guys, your studs, your dudes out of the bullpen are available and able to make big pitches in big situations, Chris.
Yeah, it's, Sunday, as long as it's not 2-0 Clemson, that's going to be as good an atmosphere in college baseball as you'll get. I mean, Gamecock fans will show up, show out, be loud, be rockets. I think what I'm most excited about, Harrison, I think Clemson's a good baseball team. I picked them to go to Omaha. Like, I think they're going to be a good baseball team. Like, even if they lose 2 or 3 this weekend, it's a rivalry series. I'm not going to be like, man, Clemson's just terrible. Like, I still think they're a good team. This, to me, is more of a weekend where we're going to learn what South Carolina is. Like we just don't know, because, Harrison, you and I obviously have a unique vantage point. We've seen them much closer than a lot out there tuned in. And we've seen this team start hot in non-conference play and pick on lesser competition. And then they get to this rivalry series. They get an SEC play, and it's like, oh, okay, so this is who you really are. So my question is going to be like, who are you really? Is South Carolina – sitting there undefeated? Should we be talking about them as like, hey, this is a surprise team in the SEC? This is a team that, might fight for 500 or better in SEC play or hosting a region or what have you, because the expectations, obviously, year one at Paul Maneri are so low. This is your opportunity for the Gamecocks. I mean, this is the prove-it weekend, right? Because Clemson is a high-quality ball club. And, again, it doesn't – if you take 2 or 3, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it will be a good sign for South Carolina. And I think we're going to learn – more about them, whether there's an opportunity where they will overachieve, or is it going to be a situation where like, oh, they just haven't played anybody the first 9 games of the season, respectfully. So I think I was just going to say Paul Maneri's first rivalry experience. I thought the quote that was interesting. He was talking to Ray Tanner about the rivalry, and he was at LSU, but it's a little bit different. Like, LSU doesn't really have. I mean, Mississippi State's a rival. Like, they don't have like an in-state rival like that. So this is a kind of a, unique dynamic for him, but big opportunity for South Carolina, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, to touch on both those things you just mentioned, I think it's another thing for South Carolina's pitching staff and just how good that they've been, especially Matthew Becker and James McCoy, both. I mean, strikeout stuff, 1.59 ERA, a 3 ERA for James McCoy, 17 strikeouts, no walks for Becker. I mean, that's insane. Take a moment. 17-0 strikeout to walk ratio. James McCoy got 17-4 strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, it's elite stuff. Dylan Escu's right up there with an 11-4 strikeout to walk ratio. But you're going to face a Clemson lineup that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys batting over 300, and Cam Cannarella is not even one of them. I mean, you're going to have to face the elite, uber talented Cam Cannarella. And I think he has a open the season weekend. I really do. I think he just has a coming out party this weekend. He loves this moment. He thrives in it. We saw it all postseason last year.
When the lights shine brighter, it seems like he rises to the occasion. He really does.
Absolutely. And you're at the face. around him, Dominic List, who's batting 462. Tristan McClatty, who's batting 400. I mean, they both have 13, 8 RBIs. Josh Pano's got 14 or 11 RBIs. I mean, just they can mash up and down the lineup. And it's going to be interesting to see the leverage and the toughness that's going to take to face a lineup like that, because of the talent that South Carolina's played so far in Milwaukee, Queens, Winthrop, Sacred Heart. It's night and day difference in talent in a lineup as deep as that. So I think that's another thing to watch. But to speak on the Paul Maneri part, you said, it's going to be really fascinating to watch that as well. And just obviously the management of how he, game management on offensive and pitching side. But there's a funny quote from today's media availability that I want to quote. It said, you and Eric Bakich, the Clemson head coach, will want to fight each other. And Paul Maneri answered, you would hope not. Have you seen the way he's built? I'm 67 years old. I mean, that's an elite quote right there.
Bakich had a good one too, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but they essentially asked him like about being friends with like are he and Maneri friends or whatever, or he's like, I don't ever want to be friends with the South Carolina head coach. So kind of stoking the fire a little bit. Like there's a little, not that this rivalry needs any juice.
And you got some guys. I think there's still got a couple guys hanging around in Columbia that used to play.
No, Rocky's on Carolina. That was on Clemson last year.
Yep.
The dude that got in the scuffle with Caglione. And dude, how about this? There's a clip out there. So he's on Clemson last year. They either hit the walk-off or it was in the Columbia neutral site game. And it's a clip of Rocky doing the like this on the Tigers on his jersey, like saying like our state. And now he's at South Carolina. It's like, so there's very
and Monty Lee as well. Don't forget him.
And then the Monty Lee dynamic. There's some very interesting storylines within the storylines within the storylines.
Yeah. And Chris, I think I speak for both of us. I think historically this is the best rivalry in college baseball. Clemson, South Carolina, no doubt. And I
think because of the history in Omaha, I think the history in Omaha that adds another layer that I think most rivalries just don't feature. So
absolutely,
I think that's a fair argument. All right, Harrison, I'm going to start with this one in regards to predictions. Man, I've wrestled with this one and gone back and forth. I love the fact for South Carolina that Game 3 is in Columbia. I'll keep it very simple, short, sweet, to the point. I just can't look at the pitching matchup and go with the Gamecocks. I just can't. Right now, I can't. Is it going to surprise me if South Carolina wins 2 or 3? Not even in the slightest. I think Clemson's a better baseball team. But, dude, it's a rivalry. Like, it's – I've seen this series.
Throw everything out the window. Throw records out the window.
Yeah, I've seen this series many a times where the better team didn't win, if you will. All you got to do is be the better team for that weekend. I do think, to your point, South Carolina, as good as the pitching staff has been, hasn't faced a lineup anywhere near this, what they're going to see all weekend long. I think Clemson probably wins Game 1 in Clemson. I think they probably win Game 2 in Greenville as well. I could see South Carolina stealing that final game at Founders Park because, again, Clemson has been shaky on the bump on Sundays. The LeGurnick kid, has gotten hit around a little bit. I mean, I saw it firsthand in Arlington. But give me the Tigers taking 2 out of 3. I do think South Carolina will get 1. I do. But I got to go with Clemson winning the series right now. This is a huge weekend, huge opportunity. South Carolina, you got a chance. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. There's just some guys I don't trust right now on the bump for South Carolina. If they can show me something, then maybe we're having a different conversation this time next week.
Yeah, Chris, and I've wrestled with this one too. You and I talked about just this is one of the toughest, I think, series we've definitely this season we've picked so far. I mean, it's a rivalry game. Like I said, throw everything out the window. We've seen it in college football. It doesn't matter if you're, the team your rival you're facing is 10-1, 10-2, 9-2, whatever it is, and you're 5-6. It doesn't matter. We've seen it with Alabama, Auburn. It feels like year after year. I feel like it's going to be the same way with this. There's a lot I don't want to say writing on this, but that this will stem from and kind of direct your season, I think, in a sense, too. I think that there's so many concerns on both sides, the pitching for Sunday specifically, and then what's available Sunday, that
Sunday could be a really wacky game.
I think Sunday, it's either going to be just a both bullpen day and it's just a randomly low scoring game, or it's going to be like a 10-8 game. And so I could see it going either way. I don't think either team sweeps. It's so tough, Chris, because like I'm sitting here nail biting and looking at it and thinking, I've seen the stats and I've looked at the numbers and think, I think either team can win the series. Honestly, it just comes down to who has that extra base hit when it matters most, who has that slam the door shut, strikeout or get double play with second and third on with the time, a time runner, go ahead run on second and third. And who's going to have that big play in that big moment? And it's really tough, Chris. I'm a South Carolina alumni. I really think Clemson's bats pull it out and squeak it out I think all 3 games are close. I really do. And I think Game 3 is going to come down to one clutch hit, like a 5-4 ball game. And I think Clemson's just the depth of their lineup has that in them a little bit more than South Carolina does in the bullpen on a Sunday. But it's so tight. I think it's just a 1-run game for the series on Sunday, Chris.
Yeah, I selfishly, Harrison, hope this series is 1-1 going to Columbia because that will be theater at Founders Park. It will be pure cinema at Founders Park. But I would say this, y'all can't.
It hurts to pick the Gamecocks, but it hurts not to pick them.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't say we're just ignorant SEC bias because we just both went to Clemson. So.
It hurts to pick Clemson, Chris.
It does. It sucks to pick Clemson. I just, listen, prove it. This is your prove it weekend. If you're South Carolina.
And I want them to, Chris. I mean, for SEC, but also for South Carolina. I want South Carolina to go out and prove it, and they have an opportunity to do so this weekend. And the pieces there, go out and do it.
Yeah, it would be a huge statement for the Gamecocks. No
Talk
doubt.
about being a headline next week.
Yeah, it's going to be an electric factor either way, all 3 games. All right, let's jump into tournament play, Harrison. Like I said, pick your tournament, right? I mean, which one you want to go to? Which one you want to start with? Let's start with the one. You know what, Harrison? Let's start with the one. That round of applause is given a free stream to everyone. You don't have to pay $19.99, $29.99, whatever 99. You get a free stream.
Free 99.
Thanks to the Houston Astros. Everyone should be doing this. I'm not knocking anyone for – listen, I'm a businessman myself, but God bless the Houston Astros because the Astros Foundation College Classic is going to be aired on the Astros YouTube. You ain't got to pay for anything.
And Twitter, I think, too.
And Twitter. Yes, there will be live video everywhere. And thank goodness, Harrison, because, my God, the Astros Foundation College Classic, this field is elite, and it's going to be a lot of fun at Dakin Park, which I still call it Minute Maid. Like, in my mind, it's still Minute Maid.
Give me the juice box. It's staying Minute Maid in my mind.
It's technically Dakin Park now, which
it's
sucks,
the juice box in my mind. That's
it's
all
the
that
juice
matters.
box, yeah. Houston, Texas. The field consists of, get ready, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Rice. Harrison, I feel like Arizona, Okie State, and Rice have got to be like, what did we do wrong to get in this field with these 3 teams? No, either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. The schedule looks like this. On Friday, Mississippi State takes on Rice, 12:05 Eastern first pitch. Tennessee, Okie State, which, by the way, Harrison, side note, I was told by our guy Jake McKeever, they hate being called Okie State for some reason, which makes me want to call them that more. So Tennessee, Okie State, 4:05 Eastern. Texas A&M, Arizona, 8:05 Eastern. Then Saturday, Tennessee, Rice, 12:05 Eastern. Mississippi State, Arizona, 4:05 Eastern. A&M, Okie State, 8:05 Eastern. And then Sunday, Tennessee, Arizona, 11:05 a.m. Eastern. Mississippi State, Okie State, 3:05 Eastern. And then Texas A&M and Rice, 7:05 Eastern to close out the weekend. Harrison, your thoughts on all 3 of the SEC teams specifically? We talked about it when we talked Midweek Madness. I feel like the big headliner here, though, I'm excited to see Tennessee. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, we should have mentioned for the midweek, how about A.J. Russell coming back? Shoving.
Yeah.
In fitting fashion. Strikes out the side. No better way to come back. Strikes out the side.
Yeah, and faster than a lot of us anticipated, too.
Much faster. Yeah, that's a good sign for the Vols. But excited to watch them, obviously. Excited to watch Mississippi State. But Texas A&M, to me, is the big story. Like, how are they going to bounce back? What do they look like? Can they play clean baseball? Again, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Rice in a 3-game set. So, you're playing better competition than you have, but you're still playing 3 teams you're more talented than. I mean, let's call it for what it is. Thoughts on the weekend as a whole for A&M, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Houston?
Yeah, and I'll start A&M. I think it's a redemption weekend. It's go out and prove it. The talent's there. Go play loose. Go play the brand of baseball that you are known for and that this program at Texas A&M is known for. Go play your game. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about past results. Just go play your game. Play as a team. Play for each other. And go out and let the rest take care of itself. I mean, when I talked to Jay Slaviletto behind the scenes, he said last year their mindset and their motto was win. What's important now? What's important right now is how they respond. And just going out and taking care of business in day one on Friday, because that's all you can focus on is what's next up. And that's that Friday night game against Arizona in prime time. I don't know what their acronym or their motto is this year, but I mean, that's enough. You could just use that from last year. I think they showed it. And I think they will take care of business, Chris. I think they have a big bounce back. I think they win some scrappy games, some close ones that build a lot of just, I think, competitive culture and just callous, like I said earlier. I think they come out this 2-1 as well.
Yeah, I've got them 2-1. I think winning by any means is more important than, I think we've been so worried early on how it looks. Are they, are they putting belt to ass? Are they blowing out people? Like, dude, just go out and win some ball games and have something to feel good about. And that's, again, I mentioned that the conversation with Richard Zane dropped this morning. He mentioned, to your point, Harrison, what is the mantra and the motto of this team this year? He's like, they're kind of still trying to figure that out. Having a good weekend. Yeah, and having a good weekend in a tournament like this could help push that and accelerate that and galvanize that team, right? Like, baseball is a game where you need some good things to start happening for you. I think Texas A&M will get it. You're not going to keep the Aggies down forever. I just don't see it. They're too talented. They're too good. Harrison, for the other two, I've also got Mississippi State going 2-1. Again, Arizona is another story. I don't know what to expect from Arizona because I saw them that opening weekend, and I'll be transparent. I haven't kept up with them since, but my God, they were terrible. So you like to think that you'll be able to score wins against them. Mississippi State, Oklahoma State's wildly intriguing in the final game. I think State's going to go 2-1 though. I think Tennessee goes 3-0 in this. The way they've been playing, they're coming in with full confidence. Liam Doyle's going to shove the lineup. Just pick your poison. Good luck. It's 9 really difficult outs. I think Tennessee goes undefeated. So I think A&M and State both 2-1. Tennessee goes 3-0.
Yeah, and I'll touch on State and Tennessee just because I mentioned them at the beginning with. I think Mississippi State. I think their toughest game is that Sunday game against Oklahoma State for sure. And I think they get to that game in a good position, being 2-0. One kind of scrappy or close game, and one of them I think they just handle Arizona, just the inconsistencies that we've seen from them so far this season. And then Tennessee. I'm not saying ho-hum, but I think they take care of business on a big stage here at the Juice Box because it's the Juice Box still. I think, maybe a lower scoring, 6-4 game, 6-3 against Oklahoma State. I think they absolutely unload and just the Juice Box explodes against Rice and against Arizona on Saturday and Sunday with a noon game and 11 a.m. game. I think they take care of business. The depth on the mound is unbelievable from the frontline stuff to the relievers in the bullpen to the closers. I mean, in the depth off the bench they have, I've seen it firsthand this season, and it's just there's no slowing down, I don't think, and I think they take care of business in the Juice Box.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their matchups, and somebody says poor Rice in the comments. Yeah, it's boy, they drew the short straw this weekend.
I wish Rice was
back
to what they were.
Yeah, I mean, they get Tennessee and A&M back to back. So,
after playing Mississippi State.
After playing Mississippi State to kick off the tournament.
But shout out to them for going, to want to play this against teams like this. I mean, the pedigree that Rice, the history they've had as a program, it's unfortunate to see where they are now compared to it. But with just how the game is, the portal, JUCO, NIL, it's really tough. And I mean, you saw it all over social media about how this place used to be packed out at Rice for games, and they had $1 hot dog, $3 beers and whatnot. And they had it felt like under 200 fans there. So hopefully that program gets back on their feet and
won a national title. I mean, won a national title back in, what was it, 2003, I think. So, apparently it was originally Enron Field in Houston, but it'll always be the Juice Box. Like I said, Minute Maid.
Always.
Anyway, it's going to be a great weekend in Houston. Can't wait to watch that one. Harrison, let's go to another tournament. The Frisco Classic being played at Riders Field in Frisco, Texas. The field consisting of the LSU Tigers, Nebraska Cornhuskers, Kansas State, and Sam Houston. And our good friend Blake Ruffino of AYS Sports is in here. I want to highlight this. He says, #AskSECU. Does Danny Dickinson have the most swag in the SEC? He mentions before that, I'm currently wearing a Golden Cross earring. Like my man Danny Dickinson, swag is swag. I don't know if you've seen it, Harrison, but he rocks on the left ear the earring with the cross on it, which, again, is why I said earlier, he's the most LSU-looking LSU infielder I've ever seen.
I thought Kramer Robertson was the most LSU-looking.
Yeah, he's right there with him, but the earring really sets it all for me. The eye black, the earring, the hair, the smashing the baseball. So Danny Dickinson and the Tigers, Derek Curiel, that entire crew, they will go into Frisco. Their schedule looks like this, Harrison. Friday, LSU takes on Kansas State, 3 o'clock Eastern. Saturday, LSU Nebraska at 5 o'clock Eastern. Sunday, LSU Sam Houston, 5 o'clock Eastern. Harrison, I know that we talked about, obviously, LSU struggled in game 2 last week against Omaha. Could the lineup potentially go cold for a game? Maybe, but I think the Tigers sweep the weekend. I think the most likely loss is probably Kansas State, because Kansas State has been playing some really good baseball, and I think they showed last weekend in the tournament they're in. They're not going to be intimidated by top-tier competition, right? So, I think LSU could drop a game, but right now I'm going to go Tigers 3-0. They're so deep on the mound. The lineup 1 through 9, again, it's just the depth that they have. I'm going to go LSU to have a big weekend in Frisco.
I'm going to go 2-1 LSU weekend. I think they drop it to Kansas State. I just think it's a really scrappy, talented ball club
team.
that has
Kansas State beat Arkansas, right?
They beat Arkansas in a really close game against an elite Arkansas pitching staff that we know and we're very familiar with. And just the talent that they have on the mound. I don't know exactly who's starting for them, if anything's changed or not, but I mean, they got talent all over the mound, I think, but in the box, Chris, I think they have a lot of talent too. And we talked about last week how great of a weekend D. Kennedy had, the Texas transfer. I mean, he's batting 265, which isn't crazy, but super talented guy. I think he's tied for lead the team in RBIs. You got AJ Ivasco and Maximus Martin, who are, they're hitting 500 and 444 respectively. And then you got Seth Dardar, who's batting 407. I don't think they're afraid of elite arms. Like I said, they've faced Arkansas's arms on the big stage in a big league stadium. They're not afraid. I think they're going to go up. I think they're going to try to set a tone that they can compete with anyone in the country. And I think they do so on Friday. I think they beat LSU in a close game. I really do. But after that, I think LSU takes care of business against Nebraska. Not a bad team, a good Nebraska team that's been on the edge of the rankings. And then I think they just wipe the floor of Sam Houston State on Sunday.
Yeah, Sam Houston, not as good as I think folks once thought they may be when it comes to adding to the competitiveness of this field. But you mentioned, Kansas State beat Arkansas. Certainly, if you're good enough to beat Arkansas, I think they're good enough to hang in with LSU and beat LSU potentially, especially if the bats get shut down. Nebraska, a quality team. Really excited to watch the LSU pitching staff continue to work. I feel like on a daily basis, I'm hearing about new LSU pitchers. The kid they threw on Tuesday night or Monday night against Nichols, the Schmidt kid, that was a kid that turned down the draft, comes to LSU. You can see it. It's like this kid's going to be a first rounder. Like they've got studs all over the place. They're in Baton Rouge. And I'm sure, Harrison, to your point, if they lose game one at Kansas State, I'm sure LSU Twitter will not overreact. That certainly has never happened.
Yeah, and I know they're not going to blow up my mentions, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
Not the weekend.
Yeah, not at all. So, again, going to be a really, really fun series, a really fun weekend at the Frisco Classic in Frisco, Texas. Can't wait to watch LSU get after it. Harrison, let's go to the next tournament. Again, lots of tournaments this weekend. The Amegy College Baseball Series back at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. The field consisting of the Auburn Tigers, Ohio State, Baylor, and Oregon State. The schedule looks like this for Auburn. Friday, Auburn takes on Ohio State at 4 o'clock Eastern. Saturday, they've got Oregon State at 7 o'clock Eastern. And Sunday, Auburn takes on Baylor at 4 o'clock Eastern. I went back and forth with this one, Harrison, because it's a tough weekend. Auburn with a big prove-it weekend, I think. Excited to watch Cade Fisher work the bump for them. Ike Irish, they're obviously going to lean on him, the best hitter in their lineup. I think Auburn goes 2-1. Ohio State, I know they got the big win in game one in Jacksonville. I saw them in person. Not really sold on their pitching as a whole. I think Auburn a bit of hit it around the yard. I know Oregon State dropped one to Oklahoma last week, so could Auburn beat Oregon State? Sure. But I think they'll split between Oregon State and Baylor. I got Auburn 2-1. That Auburn-Oregon State game, though, Saturday night is going to be must-see TV, no doubt. So it's going to be another fun weekend.
Baylor and Oregon State? Oh, so they beat Baylor, lose to Oregon State?
Yeah. Split between the two. I think they're going to go 2-1 in some capacity. I do think they're going to beat Ohio State, though.
All right. I don't know who they're going to beat of the three teams. I know they'll beat one of them. I don't see them beating Oregon State just with what the talent level at Oregon State is and what they've played in these big stages against elite teams so far to start the season. And just the kind of bullpen, I think, more so worries of depth at Auburn. And, you got four guys batting over 400. But, I don't think they've played just elite talent like a lot of other teams have played in these tournaments and whatnot to start the season. Cooper McMurray is the best hitter in Auburn's team, hands down right now. He's got 11 RBIs, 2 home runs, 7 walks, 5 strikeouts. So good strikeout-to-walk ratio there. Batting .469, Chris. Cooper McMurray is smashing the ball. He's seeing beach balls at the plate in his first 9 games to start the season. And then Chase Fralick, he's batting .432 as well. He's not an RBI machine like Derek Fabian as well, leading the team with 13 RBIs, batting .419, but they have talent there. I think the pitching kind of catches up to Auburn and what the talent they've seen so far, the struggles they've had against, a really good Troy team. I'm not going to say that was a struggle, but I'm going to say against Holy Cross, and they took care of business more so against Rice State than I thought they would. Ike Irish, one of the best hitters in their lineup, and struggles, I guess you can say struggles he's had compared to where he is statistically for the rest of the hitting staff. He's batting .303, 7 RBIs. He's striking out a lot more than we expect out of him and just the talent that level like he is. But I just think that the depth, not in the starting rotation as much, even though they haven't gotten a ton of length from guys, I think it's more so just the bullpen and facing, throughout the weekend, you're facing quality teams. I think Ohio State's a quality team. I think they're a better team than Baylor. And I think it's just going to be tough to come out of this with a winning weekend. Are they capable? Yes. But I just don't see enough yet for me to feel confident for them to say they're going to do so. So I have them going 1-2.
The starting pitching is the question. Like you said, the length of the starting pitching, and that's something you've hammered down and echoed. And, Yeah, I mean, it's you got to start getting some 5, 6, 7 innings out of these guys. This is the weekend to do it at Globe Life. Again, you're facing really high caliber competition. You can kind of write it off as your non-conference trying to get other guys work, but this is where you need your horses to step up.
Samuel Dutton's been good. He's got 2 starts, 2 starts and 14 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 10 innings. I mean, about 5 innings on average, right, per start. Then you have the other 2 starters, Christian Chatterton, who's got 9 2/3 innings, and then the other starter, Andreas Alvarez, who's got 8 1/3 inning in 2 starts. It's just length, especially against, I don't want to say as good of talent that they're about to see this weekend, but not as good as talent as they're about to see this weekend. So
you're going to have to get
for sure.
You're going to have to get some length out of those guys.
But I'm excited to see Samuel Dutton go against some talented players in this weekend.
Yeah, big opportunity for Auburn again. Facing some good competition. They've got that one big win against Troy where they walked it off at home. But this will obviously be the stiffest competition they have faced at this point. Harrison, let's go to another tournament, the Viva Las Vegas College Baseball Classic, Las Vegas Ballpark in Las Vegas, Nevada. Man, Longhorn fans are going to take over that city. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Occupy left field folks are going. It's going to be a party. The field consists of Texas, Texas Tech, Washington, and Illinois. The schedule looks like this. Harrison, Friday, Texas plays Washington, 9 p.m. Eastern, first pitch. Saturday, it's Texas, Texas Tech, old Big 12 matchup, 7 o'clock Eastern. Then Sunday, Texas and Illinois, 2 o'clock Eastern. Harrison, Washington stinks. I don't know a ton about Illinois. Texas Tech is not nearly as good as they used to be. And I think the Texas Bats are going to wake up. They've been playing in some really cold weather, and it just hasn't been great hitting conditions conducive to big offensive output, but the pitching's been really good. I think Texas, the Bats kind of wake up this weekend, heat up. Texas goes 3-0 in Las Vegas. I think they'll take a visit. The only one I'm really maybe in doubt of is the Texas Tech game. I think they handle their business this weekend, though, otherwise, for sure. And again, I think offensively we see more out of them, some encouraging signs. Because, again, this is a lineup. They're only going to score, 3 or 4 or 5 runs per game for so long. This lineup is loaded top to bottom. I think they'll show that this weekend.
Yeah, I think Texas goes into Las Vegas and takes care of business. I think they also go 3-0. I think a bigger game for them is the Illinois game. Sunday, you're 2-0, 2 quality wins that you kind of handled and whatnot. Do you kind of go into Sunday Dragon a little bit against a team that's not crazy talented? I don't think any of the teams that they're going to face are crazy talented, but I think Illinois will be a closer game than a lot of people think, especially after starting at 2-0. The team's batting average for Illinois is 300. Their OPS is higher than Texas is technically. It's a 922. I think they've got some pieces that can make this a close game and battle, but I think Texas's bullpen and depth just comes out and handles business and closes the door, make him go 3-0 this weekend for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I think Hook'em's going to have a big time. Fan base and team alike. Going to be a lot of fun out there in Las Vegas. Excited to watch Jared Spencer, by the way. Deal yet again. He is must-see TV at this point. Illinois sneaky decent, he said. Josh depends. Texas should easily get 3 wins. Nothing's easy in college baseball, obviously, but I would agree.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I would agree with you, though. You go into a weekend like this, I think, expecting to win all 3 games. Harrison, let's go to a tournament that's flying under the radar. It is the Southern California College Baseball Classic being played at Jackie Robinson Stadium in Los Angeles, California. The field, the Vandy boys going out west to take on UCLA, USC, and UConn. Again, Friday, Vandy, UCLA, 8 o'clock Eastern. Saturday, Vandy, USC, 5 o'clock Eastern. Sunday, Vandy, UConn, 1 o'clock Eastern. It's a pretty good little draw right here. And it's, if you like your East Coast, West Coast going up against each other, and I think this is a good opportunity too, Harrison, because I would assume, I think these games are just being streamed like ESPN Plus. I don't think this is like a D1 baseball thing or Flow baseball thing or whatever.
Right,
so we'll actually be able to watch these and get a look at some, we don't typically, Harrison, get a look at like West Coast competition, which USC and UCLA obviously in the Big Ten now, which is still weird to say. But Vandy boys going out west. Harrison, call me a door doubter. I got them going 1-2. I think these 3 teams, I think the quality of competition in this tournament is actually really, really good. Like, I think UCLA, better than people realize. USC has got good talent. And then UConn, I know they lost to Mizzou, so it's really hard for me to sit here and be like, man, I feel great about UConn, but UConn is a walking super regional team. It seems like they find their way there every year. I think Vandy's going to get them one, but I think it's going to be a losing weekend for the Doors. What say you for the Vandy boys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you're still a Door doubter.
I'm a Door doubter.
Proved, I think offensively so far this season, I think it's an interesting slate that they have. You know, you're going to the West Coast again after they've already done it once this season. Shout out to them for playing these tournaments and doing so, these kind of round robin style tournaments. I think that, like you said, I think UCLA, they're 7-2. They're not a bad club. I mean, you got to think UCLA used to be a absolute wagon, West Coast team for a while. It felt like in Southern Cal, one of the historically best teams in college baseball. They have 12 national titles. It's the most national championships of any program in college baseball. And it's not even close. I think the next one is like 8 or 9. But it's ridiculous how good that they have been as a program, but haven't been as good of in. When was the last time you remember Southern Cal being good at baseball?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. I mean, they have a huge win over a UC Irvine team who's really good. I think they're really good. And, that's, I think, a good comparison to look at with the Vandy game that they played against UC Irvine out west. I mean, they've played, some other Cal teams, George Washington, Rice. I think it's going to be an interesting weekend. I'm leaning 2-1 from Vandy. I just think that they're more talented than all three of these teams. Even with the offensive concerns that we have, it feels like year after year with them. I just think that the pitching staff is going to be enough for them to limit the offensive production from UCLA in Southern Cal. But I mean, I could easily see a 1-2 weekend, but I think they go 2-1. They sneak out a second win and come away with a winning record off a weekend that they're going to look back and reflect on. That's a big boost for their confidence and the inconsistencies we've seen with UConn as well. I mean, shout out to UConn for going and playing in this as well. But I think Vandy does squeak away 2 wins in this weekend, Chris.
Yeah, you lose to Mizzou. It's hard to hard to take you seriously. I got to be honest with you with the way Mizzou has looked. But no, listen, RJ Austin, excited to see him this weekend. That kid's on a tear.
The absolutely most talented player in the field, RJ Austin.
Yeah, establishing himself as one of the stars of the SEC. We talked a lot about other guys, Jace Lavalette, Max Ballou, many others in the conference, Bear Jones. But RJ Austin kind of letting everybody know, hey, I'm right up there with the best of the best in the SEC. Certainly the way he started the season reinforces that. And I'll play the role, Harrison, of the Door doubter if I have to. It's totally fine. If it helps them get back to the postseason and make a run, then so be it. I will play that role. Guys, we're going to get to the best of the rest of the weekend slate. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. So even if you miss the first few minutes of the game or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets. If your first $5 bet wins, just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and up and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Harrison, let's get to the rest of the weekend slate. Obviously, we hit the highlights. I feel like the SpongeBob meme this weekend, though, where like both of his eyes are going this way. Like you can't even like hardly watch all the games. Like realistically, it's like I'm going to be like a chameleon trying to like. I'm at Florida, Miami. I'll be locked in on that, but you're keeping up with the scores. You're trying to get the highlights out.
It's going to be tough for me too, Chris, because I'm calling Georgia Tech, Western Michigan on Friday night.
You are. You're back on the call. So we will do it, though, and we'll have Friday Night Spikes, by the way. We'll get
we might have a special guest for Friday Night Spikes.
Might have a special guest for Friday Night
Stay
Spikes.
tuned. You have to find out.
Teaser. There's your teaser. There's the carrot in front of the face. Or probably for SEC, but there's the brisket in front of the face.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's a great weekend. Again, we do have some other non-conference series. We will highlight these really quickly because, like I mentioned, Harrison, we hit the big ones, but the rest of the SEC, Georgia will take on Florida Gulf Coast in a 3-game set. You got Arkansas, Charlotte in Fayetteville, Kentucky, Hofstra in Lexington. Finally, Kentucky's got a weekend at home. Oklahoma coming off there and still undefeated, obviously, but coming off their big weekend last weekend. They take on Cal State Northridge. Alabama, who's red hot right now. Justin LeBron is seeing a freaking beach ball. They've got North Dakota State for a 3-game set. Ole Miss has Wright State, who you talked about last weekend, and Auburn disposed of. So there you go. Mizzou Evansville in Columbia, Missouri. And that is it of all the other non-conference matchups. Harrison, like I mentioned, the ones we talked about obviously are going to be where our attention lies. Anything in particular you're keeping your eye on? I will say this. I'm just excited to see if Oklahoma and Bama can keep this rolling. You know what I mean? Like, both are red hot.
I wouldn't say I'm excited to see that because I expect it to happen.
Well, I expect it too, but I mean, like, again, how you're winning and, like, I just, both are undefeated. Like, I'm not going to overdo it. They should both go 3-0. I mean, there's no question. Also, I'll tell you this. In Fayetteville, Charlotte's not a bad little mid-major. They're not terrible. That's a team that's made the postseason in the past. I'm obviously trying to fluff up the non-conference here.
Chris,
We've talked about the big
I was going to go that direction as well in Fayetteville. I think this is a big weekend for Arkansas to go prove themselves with the bats. And against a solid mid-major team, I'm not going to say an elite mid-major team, but a solid
I didn't say elite either. Don't put those words in my mouth.
But I just want there to be a differentiation between elite, top-tier mid-major teams like DBU, Southern Miss, Troy, right? These teams like those, right? And that Arkansas, I think I want to go see them take care of business, 7-0, 7-1, scoring 6 or more runs each game. I want to see that from the offense. There's talent there. I want to see a big weekend from Kendall Diggs. And I want to see Georgia. I want to see, I think their bullpen, because we know that the power of the bats they have in lineup, and it's getting deeper, it feels like. But Florida Gulf Coast is not a bad mid-major team. They're very competitive in the A-Sun. I want to see Georgia's bullpen kind of go out there, take care of business, build some more confidence. And I mean, Kentucky's, I think, an interesting 6-1 team that we just don't know a lot about still. And I don't think you're going to get a lot of answers playing Hofstra that, you're not Tennessee. Tennessee just absolutely dismantled Hofstra. But I think we're, the next 2 weeks, we'll get some more answers about what this Kentucky ball club under, 2024 Coach of the Year, Nick Mingione, is this season in 2025. So those are just kind of the things that spike out to me.
Yeah, I think with Kentucky, we probably just won't know, Harrison, until we get into SEC play. Because, I mean, they are, as a program, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but they're just built like they don't win flashy, man. I don't think you're ever going to look at them in non-conference like you look at Tennessee and be like, oh, my God, they scored 20 runs. Like, everybody's throwing 98. Like, that's not really them. They're just solid fundamentally, and they're going to frustrate the hell out of you, and they're going to bunt and play small ball. And again, I've talked to folks around the league, coaches in the league, and they just talk about it's back when you'll like this, back when Georgia Tech was the option. It was like playing Georgia Tech. It's just they do stuff that's different, and it's like it's a headache, and they can take 2 out of 3 from you. So I don't know if we're really going to know about Kentucky until we get into some SEC weekends.
I think at least 2 weekends, because one weekend doesn't really show enough for me. But I mean, I do want to run through my kind of on-field performance power rankings
real quick
this season.
Yeah.
In order: Florida number 1, Tennessee 2, Oklahoma 3, Texas 4, Arkansas 5, LSU 6, Ole Miss 7, Texas A&M 8. Surprise to a lot of people. 9, Alabama, Vanderbilt 10, Mississippi State 11, Georgia 12, South Carolina 13, Auburn 14, Kentucky 15 at 6-1. I know, obviously non-conference. In Mizzou, of course, at 17. I say that in Georgia's at 12. You could rank all 12 of those teams.
I love how you said Mizzou is at 17, not 16, by the way.
I said 16, of course.
You said 17.
Put them at 17 then.
Which is hilarious because it's like they're so bad, they don't even get the 16 spot. That's a gap.
There's a gap because
there's a gap there.
I think it's unfortunate. I say this. Unfortunately, I think their lucky relegation is not a thing in college baseball. But I mean,
Yeah,
Georgia's at 12 in my power rankings of on-field performance, and you could rank all them and every team in front of them. That's 12 SEC teams you could rank, Chris.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out there.
No, yeah, absolutely. The league is loaded, as always. Let's get into a few questions when we get out of here. I got to highlight this one, Harrison. Chinook.
Yeah, flash the leather. We saw it on social.
Oh, let's see. It's over here. We're going to be getting the catch in with Colby.
What are we rocking?
Dude, you know we got the Rawlings, the
Pro Preferred, Heart of the Hide?
This is the Pro Preferred, baby. Yeah, this is the
Big
college.
Time.
This is the college piece. We got the two-piece leather, of course. Yeah, this is the college piece, man. This is when I was
might have to bust mine out next
back in my playing days. So you'll see me and Colby Shelton on video playing a little catch. You never know you're going to get a game of toss in with. So yeah, that's the leather. Love this thing.
Love it. Big Rawlings fan.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's go through some more. We're going to hammer these out. Our guy Dave Shoemate, Bama fan, just got my hotel in Omaha. Jeremy Scott, Roll Tide, a basketball state doing good in the Diamond Sport. I love to see it. I would love to see that Bama fan base really get behind what Rob Vaughn and company is doing at this point. I mean, Harrison, by the way, they open SEC play. It's like, I think they go like A&M Tennessee back-to-back or something crazy like that. Dude, it's
Well, I talked about this with our SEC crew about how Alabama came up red hot out the gates. We're like, well, what does this team look like? I said, what does this team look like in SEC play? And everyone, I'm like, kind of not pump the brakes, but like, hey, let's have a little reality.
Yeah,
check,
they are at
A&M,
Tennessee at home to open the year,
and then versus Oklahoma.
Yeah, who's red hot too. So yeah,
that's why I say that. And they have a little later in the season against Southern Miss as well.
Yeah, humility. Harrison is a weekend away in this conference. That is for sure. Let's see. Chinook does make a good point. If it keeps happening, then it's less madness talking about the midweek. I think it's just madness is just part of the midweek at this point. It really is.
I'll tell you what it is.
Can we go 3 for 3 on psycho pitcher videos? I don't know if we can, but damn it, I'm gonna try. At this point, I'm like glued to the TV, just like making sure. Like, and
Chris,
dude,
this is 2 weeks in a row.
It's happened randomly.
And it's been over 2 million views each on Twitter alone.
I promise.
There's got to be a player that's seen it and goes, "Oh, I'll be next." There's got to be a bullpen.
Dude, I might ask somebody. I might ask one of the Florida guys today. Be like, "Hey, does anybody want to blow the guy a kiss at second or something?" And we'll just. I don't know. I think Sully would have a heart attack. It's one of his.
All we know, Chris, is midweeks matter.
Midweeks, hey, don't tell me the midweek doesn't matter. Don't tell me that. You're wrong. Our guy Travis Davison, who covers the Sooners, says Boomer. Yeah, they're really excited. Mars Jam follows up. Sooners. Bo Molinari says, whoop, Giga Maggies, tough loss to Texas State, even tougher loss to Gavin Grahovic. But I think we will get better as the weather warms up. You'd like to think so. You would really like to think so. I mean, I think the bats will come around. It's the bullpen that kind of scares me a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another comment I want to highlight on there.
Yeah,
right here. Have you been seeing him play this season?
Yeah, he is a stud.
I mean, he's got to be up with Derek Killer for freshman of the year in the SEC. I mean, he's leading the team in batting average, batting over 400. I know he's only got 3 RBIs, but I mean, as a freshman, he's balling out so far with the opportunities he's gotten in the 5 starts he's had of the 7 games he's played in. I mean, a lot of kudos to him and exciting player to watch, and I think will be an exciting player to watch for the next few seasons in the SEC.
Yeah, he's a really good one. So he is a really good one. Dalton Dye says Duke is the best 4 and 5 top 25 team in the country. Duke might suck.
That's exactly why I do on-field performance for my rankings, not preseason notions, expectations like others do that cover college baseball.
Yeah, listen, others that do, yours truly sitting right here across from you. So I'm
you don't do a top 25 though. You know exactly
top 25. No, I mean, dude, this isn't SEC, but my goodness, dude. I mean, you lose to Campbell in the midweek, you lose to Liberty in the midweek. They got Northwestern this week.
Hey, you lose to the nobodies of Campbell.
Dude, the nobodies of Campbell
that are selling and raffling off their jerseys,
that are wearing jerseys that say nobody's on them, and you still lose to them. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm so passionate because they were an Omaha pick for me, and I'm like, am I dumb? I feel dumb because they don't look like a good baseball team. We'll see. Long year, long season upcoming. They could catch fire. We know they got the talent to do so. Harrison, that's going to wrap us up. Again, I feel like we were really efficient, which is great. Again, we want to get you guys in and out of here and to the baseball itself as quickly as possible. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, man. It's always a pleasure. Harrison, final thoughts going into a jam-packed weekend of SEC baseball.
Yeah, Chris, for me, it's the teams that are playing in these tournaments, these round robins, especially on the big stages of MLB ballparks. Big weekend to go take care of business and prove yourself on a big stage, make a huge statement in rivalry games as well, make a huge statement, set the tone for the rest of the non-conference going into conference play. And then the teams in, regular non-conference series at home, take care of business, improve on the things that you need to and can improve on. So you're rolling hot in the conference, Chris. Big weekend, I think, for everyone across the SEC and extended outside the SEC as well.
The calendar will flip to March, Harrison, this weekend. And you know what happens in March? Not just March Madness. Conference play will begin. It begins even sooner for the ACC. But for the SEC, conference play is just around the corner. I agree with you, Harrison. Big opportunity for a lot of teams. Yes, it's early in the season, but with conference play upcoming and looming, you want to start playing your best version or as close to your best version of baseball at this point in the season as you can. Big opportunity, SEC, ACC. And my final thoughts, man, obviously, again, being boots on the ground here in Gainesville, Florida, so excited to take in one of the best rivalries in college baseball, hang out with the Gators. Again, can't say thank you enough to Florida. It's my second time coming to Gainesville, Harrison. They've rolled out the red carpet for me both times.
Still haven't been.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a good time. The weather's going to be great. Again, we're about to go out to practice, talk to our boy Colby Shelton, and hang out with the Gators, and we'll talk a little shop with the boys, man. Get them right. Get them ready. Get them right. Get them right.
Can't
wait. Get them right. So, going to be a lot of fun, guys. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. You all really out there truly make this a treat for Harrison and I. And be sure, tomorrow night, we'll be back. Friday Night Spikes. Make sure you tune in. You lock in because you never know who might jump.
I should be back in time for the booth. We'll see.
We'll make time for you, Harrison. We will go as late as you need, baby. We'll go late into the night.
We watched Wichita State at Hawaii first pitch at 11:30 p.m. in an all-uniform game.
And I don't have any plans tomorrow night where I got to dip early or anything, so that's good to do. That's good for me. But we'll go as late as you need, man. I mean, we're going to – Texas, Washington don't even first pitch. They don't start on 9 o'clock. The baseball won't even be over till midnight, so we'll have plenty of time. Guys, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. This is The Windup. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all on Friday Night Spikes.